This is A Course in Miracles, Chapter 1, The Meaning of Miracles, Section 2, Revelation, Time, and Miracles. Revelation induces complete but temporary suspension of doubt and fear. It reflects the original form of communication between God and His creations, involving the extremely personal sense of creation, sometimes sought in physical relationships. Physical closeness cannot achieve it. Miracles, however, are genuinely interpersonal and result in true closeness to others. Revelation unites you directly with God. Miracles unite you directly with your brother. Neither emanates from consciousness, but both are experienced there. Consciousness is the state that induces action, though it does not inspire it. You are free to believe what you choose, and what you do attests to what you believe. Revelation is intensely personal and cannot be meaningfully translated. That is why any attempt to describe it in words is impossible. Revelation induces only experience. Miracles, on the other hand, induce action. They are more useful now because of their interpersonal nature. In this phase of learning, working miracles is important because freedom from fear cannot be thrust upon you. Revelation is literally unspeakable because it is an experience of unspeakable love. Awe should be reserved for revelation, to which it is perfectly and correctly applicable. It is not appropriate for miracles because a state of awe is worshipful, implying that one of a lesser order stands before his creator. You are a perfect creation and should experience awe only in the presence of the creator of perfection. The miracle is therefore a sign of love among equals. Equals should not be in awe of one another because awe implies inequality. It is therefore an inappropriate reaction to me. An elder brother is entitled to respect for his greater experience and obedience for his greater wisdom. He is also entitled to love because he is a brother, and to devotion if he is devoted. It is only my devotion that entitles me to yours. There is nothing about me that you cannot attain. I have nothing that does not come from God. The difference between us now is that I have nothing else. This leaves me in a state which is only potential in you. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. Does not mean that I am in any way separate or different from you except in time, and time does not really exist. The statement is more meaningful in terms of a vertical rather than a horizontal axis. You stand below me and I stand below God. In the process of rising up, I am higher because without me the distance between God and man would be too great for you to encompass. I bridge the distance as an elder brother to you on the one hand, and as a son of God on the other. My devotion to my brothers has placed me in charge of the sonship, which I render complete because I share it. This may appear to contradict the statement, I and my Father are one, but there are two parts to the statement in recognition that the Father is greater. Revelations are indirectly inspired by me because I am close to the Holy Spirit and alert to the revelation readiness of my brothers. I can thus bring down to them more than they can draw down to themselves. The Holy Spirit mediates higher to lower communication, keeping the direct channel from God to you open for revelation. Revelation is not reciprocal. It proceeds from God to you, but not from you to God. The miracle minimizes the need for time. In the longitudinal or horizontal plane, the recognition of the equality of the members of the sonship appears to involve almost endless time. However, the miracle entails a sudden shift from horizontal to vertical perception. This introduces an interval from which the giver and receiver both emerge farther along in time than they would otherwise have been. The miracle thus has the unique property of abolishing time to the extent that it renders the interval of time it spans unnecessary. There is no relationship between the time a miracle takes and the time it covers. The miracle substitutes for learning that might have taken thousands of years. It does so by the underlying recognition of perfect equality of giver and receiver on which the miracle rests. The miracle shortens time by collapsing it, thus eliminating certain intervals within it. It does this, however, within the larger temporal sequence. Okay, so this section is about revelation, time, and miracles. So revelation, as it says here, unites you directly with God, whereas miracles unite you directly with your brother. So it seems that it's differentiating between revelation and miracles, and that you are free to believe whatever you choose, and what you do attests to what you believe. And revelation is intensely personal. It cannot be meaningfully translated. So it's more about the experience, which I think all of this whole entire text, this whole course, in my experience, is actually, it's very much about experience. It is very easy and possible to just understand things on an intellectual level, to try to understand these concepts of time and miracles from the brain in a way, but it's a complete other thing to experience it. And I will emphasize over and over again, from my own experience, but also for everybody to have this experience, to realize that it's about the experience and not just the concepts. I mean, sometimes we do need the concepts in order to open up to the experience, or you have experiences and then the concepts help to explain what is happening. Because I have definitely had people have what I might call revelation experiences or mystical experiences, where they're just in that state of non-duality, where they're just in pure presence, where they're just one with God. But to the ego, that can be really terrifying. And so understanding this and the framework and how it explains it all can help you to actually stay in the experience, or to have a more joyous or a revelatory experience, assuming that that's your goal. So yes, in the way that it's differentiating revelation and miracles is that miracles are what is needed in this experience that we're having. And when we're beyond this interpersonal relating, because we see ourselves as separate, we see ourselves as billions of separate beings, but really we're all just one. And every time that we're interpersonally relating with somebody else, we're really relating with ourselves. But where we are at this point is that most of us, 8 billion seeming individuals, believe that we are separate. And so we need miracles in order to come back to realizing that we're not, to let go of judgments, to have an experience where we're more open. So I see miracles as kind of like the stepping stones to have revelation. And as it describes, revelation is the connection, the direct connection with you and God. And, it talks about I this, I that. Who is the I in this is Jesus. As it was described, it's Jesus who has been channeled through Helen Schuckman to create this text. So when it's saying I, it's like, who is the I that you're talking about? And when I first read this, I was a little confused. Like, who is this? Is this the Holy Spirit? Is this God? Is this a person? And in my understanding, it is Jesus who is saying I. And he differentiates as well his role. The way that he describes it is that we are here, the sonship, like all of the sons of God were here. And Jesus is here. He came in human form to be able to relate, and is one of the most relatable beings that we as humans can turn to. So we're here, Jesus is here, the Holy Spirit is here, and God is here. And miracles are basically what's happening on this level between us, between human to human, interpersonal relationships. And revelation is you and God. And people turn to Jesus, people turn to the Holy Spirit. There are also many other beings that people turn to in order to get closer to God. But ultimately, it's about you connecting with God. Like, that's sort of the goal is revelation, is your direct connection. But knowing that not a lot of us are truly ready, that we think we are, we think that we want to have this oneness experience, we think we want to be connected with God, but a lot of our programming and beliefs keep us from fully immersing into that experience, which is why things like this whole text exists, so that we can slowly undo our minds so that we can come back to being one with God. And it also does say, no man cometh unto the Father but by me, does not mean that I am in any way separate or different from you except in time. And time does not really exist. So here Jesus is saying how, okay, it seems to be these levels, but this is just basically our perception, and we need this sort of perception because we've created this hierarchy in our minds, in a way. And this is part of the undoing process of coming back to oneness. So he is acknowledging that actually he's not separate or different, but we do perceive it. So he's meeting us at this point where we think that we're separate. And it says that the statement is more meaningful in terms of a vertical rather than a horizontal axis. And to me, that's kind of what it's talking about with the transcending of time. I mean, in this fabric of space-time reality that we seem to be living in, it's all very fluid. A lot of people perceive that time and space are very fixed, but it absolutely is not. It's actually very fluid and very bendable, and I've definitely experienced a lot of I've had experiences where time has been stretched and bent, and one of the things that it says about that is that the miracle substitutes for learning that might have taken thousands of years. And I'm going to bring some of my experience about miracle, thousands of years. Yeah, some of my experiences that I had with, say, theta healing, one of the main modalities that I have been using for the last 6 years or so. And in this healing modality, it's basically like the releasing and clearing and changing of beliefs is one of the foundational parts. I mean, the teacher, Vienna Steibel, she's also said things that are very much in alignment with this text. So I feel okay bringing in some of my experiences from that into this experience. So I witnessed many miracles. I witnessed many releasing of beliefs, and realizing that there are beliefs that are held on different levels, including the genetic level. And we see time and time again how we repeat patterns in our own personal individual lives. We repeat patterns over and over again until we take consciousness, until we're ready to choose again. But beyond just the individual story, I've also seen these patterns being repeated across lifetimes. I've also seen it repeated in family patterns. And basically, we're kind of stuck in this time loop of repeating patterns until we're ready to choose again. And that's where it goes from like the horizontal versus the vertical axis. The vertical is when we're choosing God and we're choosing to come out of the story. We're choosing to come out of these patterns, and that saves so much time. So I've witnessed all of these changing of patterns, how that basically clears lifetimes. Like sometimes having one single change in consciousness in someone's mind about a past event or judgment that someone's been holding on to, or whatever sort of story someone has been living over and over again. Once that decision has been made to do something different and to choose with God or with the Holy Spirit and choose from a place of not judgment and tightness and closedness, but actually from openness and unconditional love, I see how that saves, like it changes their entire life, but it's beyond just their entire life. It actually collapses time. When you could say performing miracles, which again is just shifts in perception, but when I would do sessions, like one-on-one sessions with people, and we would be sitting there basically connecting with the Holy Spirit and God, it's like time would not exist. And sometimes, at least when I was first starting doing these sessions, sometimes the sessions would last 2 or 3 hours. And neither of us felt like it was 2 or 3 hours. It was just like time didn't exist in there, but we were able to work through so many different layers of patterns and beliefs that were ready to be taken consciousness of. Basically, many miracles we experienced in that period of time without it feeling like it was any time. It felt timeless. Yeah, time's a very funny thing. And I'm looking forward to seeing how science, I say that in quotes because I don't really know what science is, that science and spirituality intersect, and where basically science will eventually come to the conclusions that a lot of the spiritual teachings that are coming from a place of real truth can finally meet. Because what that means to me is that the part of our minds that needs an explanation, that needs this rational understanding of what is happening, can finally be open enough to meeting at the place where a lot of truth really is. And so that's all for now. Thank you so much.